I'm not going to go very much into all these things, but this was in another study that showed actually it was done with alpha-1 patients. And I will talk a little bit about alpha-1 later. But alpha-1 patients with COPD. And there wasn't a study conducted, and actually what happened is they took AlphaNet coordinators, and AlphaNet coordinators will call patients on a regular basis. They say, okay, we're going to call patients every month. We're going to see how they're doing. We're going to tell them to do this, to do that, to do multiple things. At the end of the study, we were able to find that the quality of life really improved. This is how people were feeling before this. This is how they were feeling at the end of the study. Again, because of a disease management program. And a disease management program is not only about medications. So you can improve your quality of life. It has been proven to work. The study also showed that people will actually have a better use, better knowledge about how to use their inhalers. They will know better how to use their medications. I'm not going to go over this. Is probably too scientific, and I don't want you to get too complicated with that. But I wanted to show at the same time that people will be able to reduce the number of exacerbations in the year. You all know what exacerbation is, but for those of you who don't know, it's actually getting worse. So you get worse at certain times of the year. That's when you feel like you have to go to your physician. You develop fever, you increase the cough, you develop mucus, so that happens. But actually, if you have a disease management program, you will be able to reduce exacerbations. Now, genetics and environment. That's another issue that most people don't even think about. Now, every time that we address genetics, we just get all confused. This is, what is genetics? That's not for me. That's too complicated. That's expensive. I don't want to deal with that. But remember what I just told you. Only 15% of the people who smoke develop COPD. Why is that? Probably there are some other genetic factors that could potentially affect us, and therefore we will end up having COPD. And actually the biggest study on lung disease ever done in the world is being conducted right now. It's being conducted by Harvard and by National Jewish. This is a study that started a year ago, and they're trying to look for different genetic determinants that people have, so they develop COPD. So some of you will say, I never smoked in my life, and I do have COPD. Or I didn't smoke much, but I still do have COPD. Why is that? We're trying to find the cause. So far, the only genetic cause associated with COPD is alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. According to the American Thoracic Society and the European Respiratory Society, every patient with COPD should be tested for alpha-1. Now, how many of you who have COPD have been tested for alpha-1? Not today. Okay? So there are many of you who need to be tested. Actually, today you have alpha-1 testing here in the back. But this is an issue that all the patients should be tested. Why is that? Because if you have COPD and you have alpha-1, you may benefit from additional treatment. There is something called augmentation therapy. It's increasing your levels. Alpha-1 is a protein in your body that will help protect your lungs against all these different pollutants that are coming into your lungs. So you need to know you have it, and you need to know if you need treatment. Not every patient with alpha-1 needs treatment. But it's important that if you have it and you're being treated and you don't get better, it could probably mean that you have alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. So get tested. Most people actually think that it's very expensive. Well, it is. An alpha-1 test costs around $300 in the country. However, because there are many partners in the country, alpha-1 testing is free of charge in the United States. And it can be confidential. The pharmaceutical companies that produce augmentation, that produce different products for alpha-1, the augmentation therapy, they offer free testing throughout the country. The Alpha-1 Foundation has a confidential testing program. You can call, you can request a test kit, they will send it to your home, you send it back. Many people are afraid of this. Why? Because they think that this genetic information will get into their medical records, and then they will have problems with their insurance companies. That's why we offer the confidential testing. At one point in your life, you will say, well, I'm already 70 years old. Why do I care if I have genetic COPD or not? Is that going to make a difference? Probably yes, probably not. But this is a genetic disease. That means that you can pass it to your children. So if you have it, wouldn't you do something for your children? Wouldn't you tell them, hey, listen, you have a genetic predisposition to develop COPD. If you smoke, you will develop COPD. You cannot smoke because you have alpha-1. So it is very important that those of you, no matter your age, no matter if you smoked, get tested for alpha-1. Environment. Yes, cigarette is the most important one. However, there are many people that are being exposed to many things. So remember, it's not only where you live, but it's also where you work and the people that you're surrounded by. So this is the way that overall we need to address this issue. We need to get better data on COPD. We need to educate healthcare professionals. We need to educate the patients. We need to diagnose COPD with the right tools. We need to do alpha-1 testing. We have to improve in the treatment. There are many organizations that are being dedicated to do this. American Lung Association, again, is the leading organization here in the state of Arizona. The American Lung Association is one of the leading agencies in the country. They're not the only ones. I work with the COPD Foundation. The COPD Foundation works with the American Lung Association to do all these things. There are many tools that have been developed for you. One of the most important tools that the COPD Foundation recently released is called the Big Fat Reference Guides, 400 pages or 600 pages. Nobody will read 600 pages, but it has all the information that you need to know. So if you just want to address something, sex and COPD, can I have sex or not? Something you don't want to talk about with anyone, go and read about it. Everything is in there. There is a website, copdfoundation.org. There are publications for physicians. Physicians can get more information. There are some other programs. They also have an info line as well as the American Lung Association. The info line that the COPD Foundation has is different. It's just staffed by patients with COPD who could deal with the needs of patients with COPD. Now, there are many, many more in the country that are addressing this issue of COPD, and I am showing you some of the organizations that are addressing this. The National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, the American Association for Respiratory Care, American Thoracic Society, nurses, physician assistants, many more. There are many forums. We're trying to educate more physicians through WebMD, Medscape, PriMed. Physicians and healthcare professionals. They all have to get continuing education units or credits so they can renew their license. We're working with government agencies to get them to know more about COPD. Retail pharmacies are getting involved with all this. Walmart, Walgreens, CVS. The American Lung Association, I cannot stop saying it because they actually recently released one of the reports. And again, I work around the country with many states. Arizona is one of the best ones throughout the states. There are only probably 15 to 20 states who have a COPD action plan. Arizona was one of the first ones to develop the action plan. It's one of the best action plans they have. Different educational activities. COPD Foundation is working in this new platform. It's going to be launched in May. It's this kind of simulator where you go in and you learn how your lungs work and what happens if you have alpha-1, what happens if you have COPD, how your lungs get destroyed. So this will be for people any age who want to go in and get it right and see how they can learn more things. And I want to finish with with the same statement that I opened my presentation with. Only in 2000, COPD was addressed by the Institutes of Medicine. Only in 2000. 2010 has been declared as the year of the lung by the International Federation of Respiratory Societies. So 2010 is the year of the lung worldwide. It is the time to take action. It is the time for you to take action, not only here in Arizona, but throughout the country. So remember always this. COPD, almost always preventable, almost always treatable, someday curable. Thank you very much.